Yes, our socio-economic policies are not very friendly. The environment isn't very enabling. The government policies are unstable. But those are just variables put on the way by people for other people. If you really believe in yourself, the only variables that is on your way is the one that you put on yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see ladies, youth, they are being lazy. You know, they don't want to work. They want free money. You know, no, it's uncalled for.
The problem we have is that the youths are not focusing on where the money is. Because we have an educational system that has trained them that when they come out, they get a degree, they start looking for a job.
No one says that inspiration has to be something that's separate from our daily lives. Like, people can be inspired on a mass basis. It can be a job to inspire people.
Thanks for coming right back to this very passionate and very topic that encourages us. We're happy as we are a bit older, you know, but to see that, well, we're young, but to see that younger people, to see that younger people have, you know, defied the odds. I'm excited as we have a guest who is going to come and tell us how he defied these odds that we've been talking about. Welcome with me, ladies and gentlemen, Chude Jidonwon to the stage. I didn't want to mispronounce your name.
Very well, thank you.
Hello, Chude.
Well,
How do you do?
Great to meet you.
Same here.
Sorry, I didn't want to murder
No,
your
it's
name.
fine.
Jidonwon.
It usually takes practice.
Okay, well, I've got it now.
Usually takes
You're
practice.
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, I know a lot of people are probably familiar with the Future Awards.
Probably.
Maybe you want to tell the viewers at home and the audience a bit more about what you do and how you broke through.
Well, our company is called Red Media Africa.
Okay.
And it's the media company. We call it the media company to reach and inspire the largest number of African youth at any time. So people ask when they hear inspire, they think, is it a church or is it an NGO? And we say that no one says that inspiration has to be something that's separate from our daily lives. Like, people can be inspired on a mass basis. It can be a job to inspire people. And so the first brand we ever built was the Future Awards, which was founded in 2005. So it's 10 years this year.
Wow.
And the Future Awards came at a time when the Nigerian creative industries were exploding. So media, entertainment, all of that. And, you know, so I think it was at the same year that we began to have major red carpet events in Lagos. And so we thought, in Nigeria actually, and so we thought, how could we use these, how could we use entertainment, how could we use lifestyle, how could we use popular culture to engage young people with the values that we thought were important, which are simply the ability to create value, to be empowered to add value to your society. Yes. And so we thought, how can we create a media brand that encourages young people to achieve their highest potential? And that's how the Future Award started.
So is this award mainly targeted at a certain demographic?
Yes. It's, you know, it's funny. So I say to people, before we knew that, you know, there are a lot of things that people say in Africa Rising, youth demographic, the population explosion, all of that. At that time, we didn't know about all these technical terms. I hadn't even finished university at the time. But we knew that young people were about to become a force. We didn't know why or how or when, but we just knew that young people were about to become a force. So this was targeted at young people between 18 and 31. And essentially what we did was, that was when, you know, it's, young people see a lot of young people succeeding now and think that it's taken for granted. But at that time, it was difficult to find many young role models. So it was within those 3 to 4 years before then that we had people like Agbani Darego and Chimamanda Adichie and Ndidi Nwuneli, even Two-Face Idibia, or, you know, in 2004, there was no Mo Hits, there was no, you know, there was no Beat FM. There was, many of these things didn't exist. And so we thought, around what age are these young people who are beginning to spotlight a new trend? how old are they? And we thought between 18 and 31. We didn't want it to be too old so young people could connect with them. Like when I speak to young people, I tell them, I left Unilag in 2008. So if I tell you anything about myself, you can walk up to Unilag, I'm sure they've not yet burnt down those certificates. So you can actually confirm that the things he's saying aren't just motivational speeches. That's like what we wanted to do. So we said if a young person is just coming out of school at 15, he's most likely going to be directly inspired by a 30-year-old or a 29-year-old or a 28-year-old faster than he would be by a 50-year-old.
Younger person.
Or she.
Okay, so your company now is what does it entail? You
Right.
know, how many people are you engaging? You know, how did you start it?
Right.
And what pushed you? What motivated you
To do it.
start?
The company is, like I said, the brand itself is 10 years. The company as it is now is 5. We have about 75 staff across 4 offices. We have 3 offices in Lagos and 1 in the UK. So when I studied the future, I was still in university, but I was working. I started my career in television. I worked with the late Livia Jonuma. That was my first job. And I moved on to Inside Out with Agatha. Then I worked with New Dawn with Fumi Yonda.
So you've been around.
So this is my 15th year in the media. But then, so I started this in 2006. Then I finished school. Then I went to law school in Abuja. Then I came back and did my NYSC in Lagos. Then, so I started working. I had my first job in Virgin Nigeria. So we were still doing the future awards then, but it was more of a hobby, not a business. It's just, we're passionate about this. At the beginning, we're using our funds. Ultimately, it began to make enough money, but not to sustain us, just to sustain itself.
So
but
you didn't just hammer overnight, which is a mistake. A lot of they will see you now
Yeah.
say, Shebi, it was easy for you. It probably comes from a rich home and all that. Could you play? This is what we want to know. How did you? Because you actually do make it sound so easy. But you see, now you're saying you were in school, you were working
from
at
the
the
narration.
same time.
It's been everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's been busy.
Yes, learning the ropes.
Learning to front. So
Yeah.
do you want to advise the young people
I mean, so
that?
I had a young person that came to my house, a mentee, like a month ago, I think, in June. And he said he wanted to leave the country. He was so desperate to leave the country. It's like, I have to go. Like, truly, don't tell me anything. There's this thing, nothing you can tell me. I want to go. And, and I said, okay, fine. How much do you need to go to America? He's like, I said, okay, fine. I'm going to, first and foremost, so it will look like stinginess. I'm going to give you this amount of money. So are you calm now? He said, yes. So listen to me. I told him I hadn't left the country until 2008 for the first time. In fact, it's funny because by the time I left the country, none of my parents or family had ever left the country. In fact, we didn't have any relations abroad. So I thought something was wrong with me because all my friends had somebody abroad. So everything I have, so I say I'm born, bred, and buttered in Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
And so I told him that everything I have done, all my education, all my influences, my role models, everything has been Nigerian. And there's no hint of corruption or crime or anything. So I asked, then he said, but you are saying it's so easy now. You are in your house, you have your car. And I was so offended. I was
all
so
my hard work.
offended.
All your hard work.
But because I thought, so I thought, wow, okay, so like you said, this thing has begun to look easy, I tell you that there's no way in Lagos I don't know because I have worked.
I hope you guys are
That
listening.
is the thing.
Audience.
He didn't just, make it overnight.
So end of my past year, I've worked for a contract job for somebody who was just down the road at Clay bus stop. I've worked in Omoli. I've gone around.
Yes.
What it was that 2 things I wanted to be. I wanted to add value to my generation,
Okay.
and I tell people on a joking level that I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. We grew up in Ijesha. We had a small apartment, ETC.
Middle class kind of.
Yes, so it wasn't want, but it wasn't, I couldn't pay my school fees for years. And one of my motivations was, I'm not going to have this kind of existence permanently. Now, if you don't want that, what do? You work as hard as you can. You take advantage of every opportunity as it comes to you. How did I get my first job? I came out of school, I'd written a book that was published when I was in final year in Mayflower in Ikene.
Okay.
There were no publishing houses at that time. So I wrote a letter to everybody. I wrote a letter to Macmillan, Onward, everybody. Only one person responded. And that's why I published the book. Now, it was a Goldfield in Ibadan. He had never really published a fiction book before. It was mostly textbook. So he didn't know how to publish sizes. So I came to Lagos because I was a very keen watcher of television.
Okay.
And so I came to Lagos and I looked for my role models on TV. So I walked to NTA and just saw Funmi Iyanda and said, look, this is my book. You know, I don't know where else to go. I'd like somebody to help me publicize it. That's how I met everybody that I met. And that's how my career in the media began. You know, it was just like, I get very confused by the concept of people waiting for things to happen to them.
Someone to introduce someone to them.
It's very confusing.
You need to be a go-getter.
You need to make things happen for you.
For yourself.
So I don't know if they really heard what he said, but what he said was that he went and like mounted a roadblock.
He
mounted a roadblock.
Yes. I mean, I remember it was a time we were coming. My mother is a pastor in MFM, and so we were coming back for Palm was change hands. There's this thing the MFM does every Saturday. And there was a lady on NBI at the time called Gina Harry. She used to present a show called Celebrating Jesus. It was hugely popular. And so as we were driving past after church, Gina, so talking about these mountain roadblocks, literally, somebody drove past in the Mercedes Benz. I'm like, Mommy, my mother was in the car. That's Gina Harry. And so we began to chase Gina Harry on the road, you know, and shouted, sorry, ma, I'm your fan. I'm your fan. And then I passed my book over to her and tell her, you know, where can I meet you? So she shouts the address, and so I quickly write the address down, and they go and find her in our office in Onike. That's literally how I built block by block. So I tell people, any contact, any connection I have was built by myself, finding those people and taking advantage of those people.
And today you are a contact for like a bridge between the government and the youth, because I see you do a lot of work sensitizing youth, asking them to get involved in the political process, which I thought was fantastic and amazing. And today the youth are also very aware of what is going on as a result of not only what you are doing, but other young people are doing. So tell me about how you got all your political orientation and how that came about.
Right. First, I used to think that Nigerians, we didn't need government. Like, look, you know, do your own business, you know, build your own value. It's a waste of time to engage government. But in 2010, a friend of mine, Chris, said that there is no country that has ever changed a large number of the lives of its young people and its citizens without government. It was like light bulb moments. And so I thought, I'm trying to build entrepreneurs, I'm trying to build creatives, I'm trying to build professionals, but the impact will be limited unless we connect somehow with government. So in 2010, I began to look for how are we going to, the Future Awards was already 5 years old, I think, how do we connect with government?
You mounted another roadblock.
I literally mounted another roadblock. So that year, we had Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the keynote speaker of the Future Awards. Again, I mean, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala happens to be my auntie. But I didn't meet her because she was my auntie. She's my father's cousin, but I didn't meet her. I met her because I interviewed her son for This Day newspapers. Because when your auntie becomes a minister, then all the family members will start looking for your auntie. So unless you have a relationship with her previous to that, your work has to, so literally it was funny because she's still looking for me without knowing that I was related to her. So it was after we invited her for the Future Awards as keynote speaker. She came then and said, young people below 30 were up to 70% of the population. We didn't know that. That was the first time that information came into the Nigerian public space. And so after that, our president got missing. You know, he was ill. There was all that political thing. And, you know, young people were tweeting, you know, were Instagramming. I thought,
asking questions.
You know, I thought we need to do more than this. So Professor Soyinka was on the streets. He's 81 now. Professor Otomi was on the streets. Tunde Bakare was on the streets, and young people were on their Blackberries.
Looking for the president.
It didn't really make sense to me. So I thought, we need to step out. This is our own future. These people are fighting for. So I came back to Nigeria at the time, and I asked my friend, what are we going to do? Are we just going to be sitting down here speaking English, going to parties, going to clubs? You know, so we decided, okay, let us do a protest. And I'd never been involved. I mean, the last protest I was involved in was in Unilag. It didn't end well. They sent all of us home. And we were delayed for a year. So I'd never been in a protest. But I said, we have to do this one way or the other. So I got my friends together. We did the Enough is Enough Nigeria protest in Abuja. Went to the National Assembly. The police barricaded us. We broke through the barricades. We entered 1 month after President Jonathan was installed as president. I had never met, you know, I'd never been in government circles before. I'd never been part of any of those things, you know, but this was carried on CNN, the AP, the BBC, Reuters. And so young people were actually energized that we can actually do something.
Tell them what has driven your passion, you know, and the easiest way to do it before we go.
I think it's to be relentless.
Okay.
Relentless is different from resilience. Resilience is you can take it. Relentless is you can move beyond it. And so whatever faces you at whatever point in time, however difficult, in fact, it is when it becomes difficult, that is when you have to decide that you have to continue. Because if not, then you lose.
Like I said before, please. You truly are an inspiration.
Thank you.
Even to me. Because, even us, sometimes you're like, life can get to you. Yes, you have inspired me, truly. So please, do not hesitate. Anytime, please come back to the show. Wonderful having you.
To reach us, you don't have to mount a roadblock. If I will come looking for you.
Thank you.
So you've heard it from Trudy. You can be a recipient of one of the awards in future. So hang around. We'll be right back with more interesting young, very, very young Nigerian CEOs. Be right back.